G'day everyone, how's it going and welcome back to another video. Today I'll be going through my round 10 AFL tips and predictions as well as my round 9 tips and big calls. So as usual, let's go through my tips for round 9. And the first game was St Kilda v Geelong. I tipped the Cats by 18 points and we lost it by 21, but we really should have won that game. Just a shit game to watch as a Saints supporter. Next game was Sydney taking on Collingwood. I tipped the Swans. They got the job done. But the next game was Hawthorn v North Melbourne, and North got their first win this week, which was a bit surprising against the Hawks. So I got that one incorrect. I got the Lions tip correct against Suns. I just got the Tigers tip correct over the Giants, and I got the Bulldogs against Power incorrect. But then in the Sunday games, I got them all correct. I got the Bombers to beat the Dockers, the D's to beat the Blues, and the Eagles to beat the Crows. So I got 7 out of 9 again, which isn't really too bad, but hopefully I can start getting some 8s or maybe even a couple of 9s. And obviously we'll go through my big calls real quick. The first game was for Max King to kick 4 or more goals, and he kicked 1 goal 5. So I mean, seriously, if you're going to be kicking straight for me to get my big calls correct, I would have got that one correct. But I got the next one correct in the Swans v Pies game. I predicted the combined scores to be less than 140, and that was correct. The Hawthorn North game, I predicted Liam Shields to have over 25 touches and 8 tackles, but he didn't get the tackles for me, only the touches. And the Lions v Suns game, I predicted the first 6 scores to be goals. Got that one incorrect. Richmond v GWS, I predicted the Giants to be up at half time, and I was correct. So that's one of the better big calls I've gotten in a while. And in the Port v Dogs game, I predicted that the Dogs would have more scoring shots but lose, but they actually won the game. And moving on to the Sunday games, in Essendon Freo, I predicted Nat 5 to have 4 or more behinds. He only kicked 0 goals 1. Melbourne v Blues, I predicted that Harry Mackay will lead the Coleman by 5 or more at the end of the round, and he kicked 3 that game. So we move on to the West Coast Adelaide game. Darling needs 8s for me to get that big call incorrect, and he only kicked the 5, which means for the first time in tipping history or in big call history, I don't have to do a punishment this week because I got 3 out of 9 tips correct. Let's go. Come on. Finally get the avoid the punishment for the week, so I get a bit of a celebration going on because I think it's right. Correct, and he only kicked the 5, which means for the first time in tipping history or in big call history, I don't have to do a punishment this week because I got 3 out of 9 tips correct. So yeah, I was lucky to get that one correct. That's the first time ever. If your comment got the most likes this week, then I sort of feel bad for you. And for some reason my phone ESPN tipping isn't working on my phone, so I chuck the leaderboard as well. If you want to join the tipping comp, yeah, feel free to do so. Just search up Cardman22's tipping comp on ESPN tipping and you should find it. But let's just get straight through the tips, and we'll start off with round 10. Friday night game at the Gabba. We've got Brisbane taking on Richmond. Brisbane were way too strong for the Suns. I can say this a lot of times, but I watched the second and third quarters, and those were the quarters where the Suns were absolutely obliterated. I think the Brisbane Lions kicked somewhere between 13 or 14 goals in a row to storm home in that game, and they ended up winning by 70 points. Suns had no hope. Got a few junk time goals at the end, but the Lions are now looking in some really good form, 6-3. The Richmond Tigers almost lost against the Giants. I think they were down by 28 points. They almost looked like all hope was lost at one stage, but they're the Tigers. They always find a way, and they ended up finding a way again thanks to Dustin Martin. So in this game, it's going to be a little bit tough to call, but I think the Lions are just better off at the Gabba. They're in red hot form. I think they've won their last 5 games in a row, and they're just looking more convincing than the Tigers at the moment. And it's at home. Lions play better at the Gabba and tend to beat the Tigers during the home and away season, so I think we'll go the Lions in this one to win this one by, I'll go 18 points, and the big call will be that Charlie Cameron has 6 or more scoring shots in the game. Next game, we've got Carlton taking on Hawthorn at the MCG. Both teams coming off pretty crap losses, especially the Hawks. I mean, they lose to the winless Roos this year. They lose to the winless Crows last year, and then they lose to the winless Lions in 2018. Don't know why they keep doing that, and I'm sure Hawks fan will be really pissed off. Whilst the Blues also would probably be pissed off as well. They're now 3-6, and they just they're always in games. They're never out of the games until like the last quarter where the Demons just, took control of the game and convincingly beat the Blues by, I think, like 28 points, which they got my margin pretty close, I think. So this one, as much as it's sort of hard now to back the Blues in against the Hawks, arguably right now are the worst team in the comp. So I think Carlton have to win this, otherwise there'd be a lot of question marks on the Blues. I'll go the Blues to win by 28 points with the big call being Patrick Cripps gets back into form and has 30 more touches and 7 or more tackles. Next game we've got Geelong taking on Gold Coast at GMHBA Stadium. Geez, this could end up being a bit of a smashing if the Suns don't show up in this game. The Suns, they didn't show up against the Lions in the Q clash. They conceded like 13 goals in a row at one stage and were just effortless. They showed no interest in that game whatsoever. The Cats they just got off unscathed, really. They should have lost that game. They weren't overly impressive. We were a lot better in the game. We had more scoring shots, but we kicked 5 goals 17, and 5 goals 17 will most likely not win you any games of footy. So that's why we lost that. That's why the Cats won. But I see the Cats winning this one. They haven't lost a game at GMHBA at all season, and I don't see them dropping one against the Suns, who are out of form. So I go the Cats by a convincing 42 points. With my big call, the Cats lead by less than 2 goals at halftime. I feel like the Suns might play like the Roos did earlier this season at GMHBA. Next game, we've got Adelaide taking on Melbourne at Adelaide Oval. Melbourne are now 9-0. I keep saying it every week. I'm surprised that the Demons are still undefeated, and they're most likely going to be undefeated after this week as well, taking on the Crows. Have not seen them play better footy all my life because I wasn't born in the 50s or 60s. And Adelaide, well, they weren't actually too bad against the Eagles. I expected them to lose by a lot more, but they fought their ways pretty well without Taylor Walker, I'm pretty sure. So if Walker's back, they've got a little bit of a chance, I reckon, at Adelaide Oval with their home fans, maybe. But Adelaide are in some shit form at the moment. We can all agree on that. Melbourne are in absolute red-hot form. So one side in good form, one side in terrible form. I think we all know who's going to win. Surely Melbourne win this one. And I'll tip him by 33 points with my big call. Cossie Pickett has 4 or more goals. The next game, we've got a Saturday night clash between the Western Bulldogs and the Saints. Usually we both play pretty well, but right now I'm a bit nervous that the Dogs could outrun us and maybe even smash us, to be fair. We were pretty good against the Cats. Like, we did everything right but kick in front of goal, really. We had 87 tackles, I think it was, but only got rewarded for 3 of them. Like, seriously, come on. So it was just a frustrating game to watch as a Saints fan, but if you're a Dogs fan, it wouldn't have been frustrating at all to watch the game against the Power. They were super impressive, beating the Power by 19 points away. Like, it's one of the toughest challenges in footy to beat Port Adelaide away this year, and they ended up doing it. So credits to them. They're a really good side, the Dogs, this year. And coming into this season, I thought that the Saints were here and the Dogs were here, but now I think it's the other way around. So I'm a bit nervous we could get pumped in this one. But I feel like if we play like we did last week and we fixed up our goal kicking, we are definitely a real chance of winning. But I think the Bulldogs will win the game. I'll actually tip him in a very close one, 8 points. And my big call, which is a very big call after last week, Saints kicked 4 more goals than behind. Like, this is a massive big call after last week. And the next game, we've got Fremantle taking on Sydney. The first game Freo get at home in front of their fans since like round 4 or 5. But yeah, Freo were pretty impressive against the Bombers. Like, I expected them to lose, and they gave a real shout. I mean, they sort of had to win the game to keep their finals hopes alive. They're still alive if they beat the Swans, but they're slipping away at the moment. And yeah, the Bombers got the job done there. And in the other game, Sydney, they did what they had to do. We all knew they were going to beat the Pies, unless you're Mitch Ryan. But we all knew they were going to beat the Pies. And after quarter time, it was just a complete dominance from the Swans. So I think in this one, it's going to be quite tough. Like, Freo haven't lost a game this season at home in front of their home fans. So I'm leaning on the Freo Dockers here and the fact that the Swans aren't great at Optus. So it's going to be a very, very close one and a very tough one to predict. I'm going to go Freo to win by 1 point in an absolute thriller. With my big call is that Freo come back from more than 3 goals at any time in the game and win. So moving into the Sunday games, we've got the first one at Giant Stadium between GWS and West Coast. This one, it could be closer than what people imagine, I reckon. GWS have been in some really good form. They probably should have beaten the Tigers. They were very, very close. We're very impressive. And West Coast got the job done against Adelaide. We're sort of playing in second gear, I feel like. Like Jack Darling was taking the absolute piss in that game. But they won the game. So both teams probably should be coming off wins, but not. GWS though, playing at home. We all know that West Coast aren't amazing away, but it's a bit of a myth. I feel like they probably are a good side at Giants Stadium, but part of me wants to tip the Giants here. Part of me reckons if there's an upset going to happen in this week, it'll be the Giants. I tipped Hawthorn a couple of weeks ago to beat the Eagles. That was absolutely stupid, but the Giants are a lot better than Hawthorn this year. And at home, I'm going to go the Giants by 7 points with the big call. Both teams combine over 205 points in a high-scoring affair. And the next game, we've got Collingwood taking on Port Adelaide at the MCG. And I don't even think big power forward Mitch Ryan can save the Pies in this week. I have a feeling this might be an ugly game. Both sides come off some pretty disappointing losses, but the Power probably more disappointing considering that they were at home, they haven't lost at home all season, and they needed to prove themselves against a top 8 or a top 4 side, but they fell short. And now they've lost games against Brisbane, West Coast and Bulldogs. So they're not performing too well against the top 8 sides. But Collingwood aren't performing well against any side really, other than North Melbourne. I don't know where they're going to see their next win really. They were good in the first quarter, like don't get me wrong, but then they kick 1 goal after quarter time. So yeah, I think we can all agree that Port should win this game, even though it's not at home. They should win this game. They play pretty good against bottom 10 sides. Like they smashed the Saints, they smashed the Bombers, they smashed the Roos, they're going to smash the Pies. Even though the Pies haven't, I think their biggest loss was like 30 points this season. They're going to have a reality check in this game. Port Adelaide by 61 points. Big call, Alia to take 7 or more intercept marks. He's been in some outstanding form. So before we get into the next game, let's just fix up the hair to make it not look as terrible. And I think I just made it worse. We've got Essendon taking on North Melbourne, the last game of the round at Marvel Stadium. Both teams coming off wins. First time I've ever been able to say that because North only have won once this season. And funnily enough, they were both by 7 points. So Cam Mooney, bit of numerology right there. But this one, I think, I can't really see North winning. Like, obviously, they played out of their skins against the Hawks. They were down by 32 points at one stage, but ended up winning. Like, seriously, it just goes to show how crap Hawthorn have been lately. And Essendon as well. I know they were challenged against Freo in a very, very close game. A very hard-fought, nail-biting contest. But Essendon, I'd almost say Essendon are a better side this year than the Dockers. Because the Essendon really should be 4 or 5 wins. They've lost a few close ones. So I do rate them this season. And I obviously rate them more than North. I mean, if Essendon play at their best, they should be a lot stronger than North Melbourne in this game. And yeah, I can't see them dropping this one. I think Essendon will be too strong. And they'll win the game by 42 points. With my big call, Darcy Parish and Zach Merritt combined for 70 or more disposals. They have been in some red hot form this season. That is for sure. But that is it. Those were my round 10 AFL tips and predictions, and also the big calls. I'm very happy, as I said a bit earlier, that I got 3 out of the big calls correct, but most weeks that doesn't happen, and I usually have to do a punishment. So if you're new to this channel, or if you already know, comment down a punishment down below, and the one with the most likes, that's obviously the most appropriate, and that's not going to get me into trouble, and something I can legitimately do, I'll be doing in an up-and-coming tipping video if it gets the most likes. So yeah, if you enjoy the video, leave a like, subscribe if you're new to the channel for more of this AFL content. I'm trying to get almost a video a day in the next couple of weeks. Like I'm putting my my effort into this channel. So yeah, subscribe if you want to see more of this content. Tipping videos every Tuesday, so keep an eye out for that. But yeah, thanks for watching guys, and I'll see you guys soon in my next video.